All right, the lottery was today. I don't know why I was on a Sunday. Thought that was weird. I thought the telecast was just all-time bizarre. We didn't even know that the number 13 team jumped. I don't know if they said it. Then it was just more chaos in the top four than I think we've had in a while. And if there was ever a time to spend 10 minutes with people who know what they're talking about the draft and what teams landed where, that would have been the time to hear it. But we had to interview all the draft picks for the first 15 minutes of the show, which I don't know who wants that. I can't name one person. I just want to know who won the lottery. Give me immediate expert thoughts from people, what it means. Atlanta gets the number one pick.
Scoot looked great.
Scoot, our guy, I was happy for him. Atlanta jumps into the top four and then the top one. They had the second worst odds, 3%. They got the first pick for the first time since 1975. David Thompson, who ended up never playing there. One of the weirder drafts because the ABA was involved. So we'll go on the ramifications of that. But then the Rockets jumped to 3, and then the Spurs locked down 4. So we go Hawks, Wizards, Rockets, Spurs. Everybody knows this is listening. This is, by all accounts, one of the worst 3 drafts the last 25 years. It's a draft. Somebody who knows the draft said it would be a draft if you took a normal draft and you just chopped the top 3 guys out of it. So the normal top 3 you would have were that guy might be a superstar. Whoa, this guy, look out for him. He's got all the tools. And you just took those 3 guys out and started the draft at 4, where like DeAndre Hunter gets picked or Alex Len, like those kind of picks. That's what this draft is. It just kind of starts there at 4. What have you heard about the lottery? And I mean, we could go into all the ramifications of like the Hawks getting the first pick should they blow it up for, but what does it even mean to get the first pick?
So I texted after the lottery was settled. I heard from 8 teams. That I texted a few more, but hey, it's Mother's Day. And you saying this is like starting at 4, that's the nicest thing that I've heard, because my responses from front office people today was far worse than that.
Like starting at 6, starting at 8?
One team said our analytics staff does like a projected value on like what this player is coming in for the people that are in the conversation of number 1. This team said that their team suggested it's like the 7th or 8th pick, owning the first pick this year.
Oof.
In a normal draft. I asked another team, I said, what kind of player could you get in a trade for the number 1 pick? And he said maybe the 4th or 5th starter on a decent team. And
so
I
like
think that was
Lou
a little
Dort?
high. Yeah. No one said Lou Dort in particular, but yes, that's a good. Like Derek White's a no.
Right. So Atlanta says, hey, Boston, we'll give you the number 1 pick for Derek White. And Boston hangs up.
Right. Hangs up.
Wow.
Okay. I had another guy say.
The Clippers are like, Terrence Mann? No way. Hang up.
Seriously, Bill? Like that's kind of the vibe that I got from all of these people. Like I was like, give me a good name. Like somebody give me a good name. I had another guy say it's like starting the draft at 10th. And I was like, all right, that's the worst thing that I had heard from today. Here was a name. It's like, would the Knicks do so? Well, see, there's the Atlanta problem. Okay, so just in a vacuum, what is this pick worth on the open market? But then there's the Atlanta problem about what they're going to try to do. But like, say the Knicks, like, would you do Julius Randle? But then it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? Trade some foreign guy who's the number 1 overall pick to Tibbs so he can rot in the bench for a year?
Right.
Behind Jericho Sims because Tibbs hates him. So I don't think I've
So like
ever
the number
heard,
1 pick for DeAndre Hunter and the number 1 pick with DeAndre Hunter for Mikal Bridges
is a no.
Is an immediate no from Brooklyn. Like no
immediate
way.
No.
Yeah. Cam Johnson?
Now maybe we can talk. Because then I asked somebody else, I was like, give me comps on the top, because I haven't done any work. I've debated sitting this draft out entirely.
I think you should sit it out. Maybe just get into I'd make Revolutionary War. Maybe make another run.
I have a lot. So he was saying this is essentially like a Derek Lively or Tobias Harris being the number 1 pick in the draft. This is
so that would make sense if you said cut the top 10 off. Derek Lively was like the 11th pick.
Yeah, and Harris was just outside of that. Was Harris 18, actually? He might have gone later because I remember being like, hey, he's too good to go that late. Was I right or wrong? I don't know.
Well, Atlanta getting it, it's too bad the draft's not good because it would have made them an intriguing blow-it-up team.
19.
The Harris was 19. Did you know the number one pick has only been traded 3 times?
I do now.
1990, 1993, 2017. I am leaning toward Atlanta being not a blow-it-up team, but a pick between Murray and Young and just take whoever they think is the best guy and try to be decent because San Antonio has their pick next year. So blowing it up, I don't know what that does for them because next year's draft is awesome by all accounts. And I don't know why you'd want to blow it up when you don't have your pick unless one of those 2 guys was going to San Antonio and you can get your pick back. Then blow it up would make sense. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Trey's making 43, 45, and 47 next 3 years. Murray's making 25, 27, 29, 31. They got Capella at 22. They have a Kongwu a first of 4 years starting at 14. Hunter's at 21, 23, 24 next 3 years. Bogdanovich 17 and 16. They also have Jalen Johnson, a couple young guards. And
I love Jalen Johnson. He's one of my favorite Hawks stories of this past year. Like I'm going through some more of my text here. Another team front office guy was like, could you do a first to the Heat for Jimmy Butler, but you have to give Butler the extension? And granted, that means money going out too. So I'm not going to get the trade machine.
So we have to do like Hunter and Bogdanovich for Jimmy Butler. You throw in the first pick.
But then you go, well, that's not the way Riley operates, right? Like, what if Brandon Ingram now is available? It's like, so what do the Pelicans do? Do add another pick from the draft that nobody likes? Like, would Chicago do something? And it's like, none of these guys are worth blowing up. So I think what ends up happening, this would just be my guess. It's still probably cooler to go, what if we're all wrong and one of these guys is being really good and we guess right? So why don't we just keep that first overall pick? But the Hawks, I think the Hawks end up making it so much different. If it was Washington, and they go, hey, dude, these pieces that are being offered back to us doesn't even make any sense for us. We're not any good. We want to be bad next year anyway for Cooper Flag. So what's the point? We'll just take the guy and we're going to keep it because it's just cooler to say, hey, we took the number one guy in the draft this year and maybe we're all wrong and we get surprised because we're surprised all the time in this process. But for Atlanta, you're right. I think they have to figure out the Trey Murray thing.
Well, he changed agents last week. Him and Murray were both clutch. Now Trey is CAA, and
that's a real thing.
It's really starting to come out in public that those guys didn't like playing with each other, so they got to pick one.
Well, no, people don't like playing with Trey. I don't know how many years I got to keep saying this. When they trade him, maybe finally,
nice.
Yeah, maybe finally people that have argued with me about this for years, who have apparently zero information, will. Basically, let me just put it this way. I'm not going to be a dick when the day comes, but understand I'll be smiling in solidarity.
There's no Miami possibility for him, is there?
Oh, I think that's a good guess. That Miami just goes, hey, we know how to do things. We're better. We're, the whole Miami spiel to him. You know what's crazy is I'll never forget, certain blind spots that you can have sometimes as a man where you're like, wait, is that something that happens? Like, I don't know that happens because I've only been a man. And there was a headline.
Okay.
There was a headline with Zach Ertz, tight end.
Yeah.
The NFL. His wife, her name, is it
Julie Ertz?
Julie?
Really good soccer player.
Ertz. Right. Great soccer player. And there was a headline that was like, Zach Ertz's wife describes whatever. And it was, once that headline came out, it was fucking on. It was like, she has a name. And the thing is she's accomplished enough that you would go.
Yeah, she'd earned Julie Ertz status.
She earns Julie Ertz status. But the way it was being brought up, I was like, wait, is there something here that I've never noticed before? Is this a misogynistic thing that happens with headlines? And so I started paying attention to it, was keeping logs. Yeah. And what I learned is, it doesn't have anything to do with it.
Like in a Google Doc? Like a Microsoft Word?
Yeah. Actually long form. I got this new tablet.
Okay.
So I promise there's a connection here. Once I started tracking it, I was like, it actually has everything to do with fame and what level of fame you're at or not. And whoever made that shitty headline decided at that point that the NFL player was the more recognizable name. I remember when Meek Mill got into a fight with Nicki Minaj's fiance, it was Meek Mill gets into altercation with Nicki Minaj's fiance. And it was just that guy wasn't famous enough. So he got left out and the other two people were mentioned. If you were to say get arrested, it may say ESPN host arrested if you're not famous enough. The point that I'm making here is I saw a link today that said $250 million all-star not likely to go to Lakers based on news from today. And I'm like, Trey Young couldn't even get his name in a Lakers media piece? That was the headline. Yeah. So I'm just telling you, it happens to everybody. It's just a level of fame. And Trey Young is famous enough to have been in that headline. And Julia Ertz is certainly famous enough. Others, not as famous.
I like how you brought that around, and it's something I've been passionate about for a while as well. I've noticed on the AOL home screen 20 years ago, you'd be like, NFL, running back found dead. And it'd be like, oh my God, who was it? And then it would be somebody you'd never heard of. Apple News does it too. Apple News loves like Lakers star snaps at press, and then the Lakers star will be, like
Christian
Jackson
Wood.
Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Wait, Lakers star.
It'll be like former
me.
There'll always be like a real estate thing, like former Clippers star buys Palos Verdes estate. And you're like,
and it's like Bobby Simmons.
And you just go. So I'm glad you're as passionate about this.
No, I
know
love
it took me a while to get there, but
you landed the plane.
Okay, thanks.
I was trying to figure out a Knicks Hawks trade.
Lay them on me, because I'm too dismissive. When we have this, just a little heads up, and I want to apologize to you. When we do this exercise, I got to have a more open mind.
Well, because we have so many trades. Well, I guess that where I was landed was I had 8 possible Trey Young teams: Miami, the Clippers, New Orleans, the Spurs, who I think I've already said they're not interested, the Magic, the Nets, Washington, and the Lakers. And the Lakers would be stupid. But if there's a Nets, Knicks, Hawks trade, where I'm really going with this mentally is, how do we get Mikal Bridges to the Knicks? Because I don't think the Nets will just trade him to the Knicks for picks. Like they have all their picks going to Houston, and they're going to want people back who are actually going to be competent. So not just be like, here's Mikal Bridges, give us picks back. It needs to be some sort of 3-way trade. And is there a way Trey Young could go to Brooklyn and Bridges could go to the Knicks? And then maybe Randall and picks goes to the Hawks, or there's some sort of arrangement where everybody's happy, which leads to the second question is, are we even sure the Knicks want to trade Randall? Do they look at what's happened in the playoffs and say to themselves, man, if we'd had Randall, we could have made the finals. And I think they do like Randall more than most, but I just like the idea of Bridges with the Villanova thing. I was talking to a Knicks fan about it, about how special those 3 guys are together. And they've talked about it, about how when you win a title like that, and it could be in high school, it could be fucking college, wherever it is, like the connection and the chemistry you have is just completely different. And there's a trust and a confidence those 3 guys have and reps with each other that's really special. And I think that's one of the reasons you and I, who care less about the Knicks, it's fun to watch Brunson, but it's also really fun to watch those 3 guys. And Brunson's kicking. DiVincenzo's just moving to this spot in the corner. And Brunson doesn't even have to look over. He just knows exactly where he's going to be. And it'd be like, how cool would it be to also put Bridges in there, who's like the 4th guy who thinks like those guys? So if I was the Knicks, that's who I'd go after. It's like, how do we add Bridges to this? Because remember we were talking the other day about who would it make sense to add to this? Would you add Donovan Mitchell to this? Would it be too weird? Would you trade everything you had to add?
As much as I like him, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense for what this is, how they're built. But Bridges does make sense. So that got me thinking there's some sort of 3-way thing. That would be my main preference. I also am really interested with the Magic with Trey. I think for selfish reasons, because of our guy Cerruti, having him go through the day-to-day Trey Young experience would be really fun. But I also think that's the kind of guy they need. And maybe as he gets older, they could hide him defensively in some ways.
I think Trey needs to go somewhere where he respects someone else on the team. And if he goes to Orlando, it's just going to be the Florida version of the Hawks.
Oh, the Murray thing.
Everybody else will get worse.
Well, the most fun for you and I would be Clippers for Paul George, a sign and trade. And then we got to watch Trey Young and Harden together. That would be the most fun, just personally for me from a comedic standpoint.
No, I would love to hear Lakers fans that never watch them play talk about how they're the favorites, and then people on TV talk about how they might be the favorite, and then have it not work out, and then hear behind the scenes LeBron never liked to trade in the first place.
LeBron never.
But now that the clutch part hasn't happened though, like the clutch part of it, before it felt like
they couldn't make it happen when he was on clutch.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the other guy that's out there is Ingram, and New Orleans has 1 million picks. And that's one where you could talk yourself into. They keep Murray, they add Ingram, they add a bunch of picks. Trey Young goes to New Orleans. That gets a little weird with Zion, and do you want Trey to have the ball that much?
Okay, but here's the thing. You might be onto something there.
Thank you.
And it's not just Trey being the best lob guy in the league to Zion, which would be a lot of fun.
And to Trey Murphy.
But if you go Trey, Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion around Trey, and I think Zion became passable defensively with an all-defensive player like Herb, and I think Murphy will get better. They still got to figure out what they want to do with this Valanciunas, Larry Nance thing. There might be enough defense around Trey now to maybe get away with it.
And maybe a Okongwu's in that trade.
I like a Okongwu.
So, and because the funny thing
probably
about
wouldn't do that. They probably, I don't know.
Well, the funny thing about them getting the number 1 pick is people think the center, Sarr, is going to be the first pick. And that's like the one position Atlanta, they don't need point guards or centers, right? They need everybody else in between. But the center seems like the logical pick. Yeah, there's like an Ingram and Hawk.
Well, that's why the Spurs, like if the Spurs had won the lottery today, I'm like, what are they going to do? Now, granted, they could trade it.
Right. Well, we should talk about them, though, because that was one of the important things that happened. The Raptors had the top 6 protected pick. They go into the lottery 6. They fall back to 8. And the Jakob Poeltl trade just becomes a mass murder at that point. Now, number 8 in this draft might be number 17 in a normal draft, so maybe it doesn't matter that much. But it just sucks to lose a first-round pick when you had a shitty season. So San Antonio has 4 and 8.
And when they Toronto's tanking, they took it to another level.
Yeah, they won the tanking championship.
But no one likes, I should say, dare I say, love Jakob Poeltl as much as Toronto. So they're probably like, hey, we love the guy.
Yeah, we're so happy we had him. We wouldn't have been able to go 29 and 53 without him. So San Antonio's got 4 and 8. There's a French wing guy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. And there's 3 point guards that will go Nikola Topic. Do we know how to say his name? He's like a Dragic type of point guard, lefty. Dillingham and Shepherd. And it feels like all 3 of those point guards are going to be top 8 picks. So the Spurs can get one of those guys and maybe the French guy. I don't know. I just want the Spurs to get creators, people who are fun to play with, people who are inclusive, people who know how to throw a fucking entry pass, people who can just like, I want 2 guys who can play with Wemby. Yeah. Can you throw an entry pass? Can you throw a lob pass? Can you cut without the ball? Does the ball move when you get it? That's what they should be looking for. But those are nice picks. But if they wanted to make a trade and package those 2 with some of the other stuff they have, they could get pretty aggressive. If somebody wanted to blow it up, it seems like Detroit wants to trade number 5 because they're tired of taking young guys. And then the other big one was Houston jumped to 3. Houston, from an asset standpoint, Şengün, Van Vliet, Brooks, Jabari, who I really thought I liked the season he had, Jalen Green, Thompson, Whitmore, 3rd pick. They have Brooklyn's first in 26. They can swap with them in 27. Pretty good spot for a mega trade if they were thinking about it.
How about that story about how Stone asked the Nets, like, do you want your picks back for your Phoenix picks?
Is that true?
I saw it. I don't know. I mean, you're right. If I brought it up, I probably should have checked it out.
No, that would be which picks would you rather have? Because the Phoenix picks, there's 4 of them.
Right.
There's three firsts and a swap, and then Brooklyn's got next year 26 first, and then a swap in 27. So I guess there's more Phoenix picks.